Alrighty. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of the Couch to 5K. So I am going to start us off with a little bit about, I did the thing on capes, coffee, and color last time. And so I'm going to start us off a little bit with on the cape side. And so this morning I actually felt a lot stronger, and I haven't felt that way in probably a week. And I've been doing a lot more core strength exercises, and mostly because of the shelter in place. And I felt like I wanted to give my body a rest and focus in on building up that strength. So lots of just body weight type exercises. So it definitely feels empowering to be able to just do simple things like that to build up the strength. And then on the coffee side, something stimulating or addictive. I've been participating in a bunch of different workshops, and last night was about routines and rituals, where right now I feel like my routines are fairly broken. Like I used to be in a very well organized, maintained routine, and right now it just feels like it's kind of floating all over the place. And I'm recognizing that I really do need to put some energy into building up some of those routines so that way things become simple and then things become easy. And I just automatically do those things. And then the other thing was we talked about rituals. And this one was actually tough for me because I was like, I save my rituals, I think, for like big things. Like it could be a ritual, might be I'm going to go celebrate something like after I've done something really hard, maybe I go climb Mailbox Peak. Well, I can't go do some of those things right now. Everything's shut down. So I'm like, what is something else that I can implement into a ritual that makes me feel good every single day? And so I'm going to show you guys. Well, maybe not. I don't have it in front of me. I have this little rock, and it's a pink quartz stone, and it's something that I've taken on my hikes for the last 5 years all over the world. And so I'm like, this little rock actually gives me a lot of energy, and I'm gonna put it in my hand and I'm gonna start journaling with it every single night. And that's gonna be my ritual before I go to bed. And then on the color side, something of gratitude. Um, so this is one thing I'd like you guys to do during your run this week. And I want you to, when you're running in the middle of the run, I want you to notice where your weight is in your feet and see how it feels within the toes, the foot pad, as it goes up your calves, all the way up your legs. Okay, just pay attention all the way through the whole thing, and just feel it, and just focus in on where that weight or the energy or the muscles are moving. And then I also want you to say thank you to your feet and your legs because they carry us everywhere we go. So, all right. So the thing I wanted to do is I think we might have a small enough group here. Um, Maybe you guys can go one at a time and tell me a little bit about how it felt this week when you guys ran. And, you know, I just want a little check-in and a little feeling of like how it felt when you were out there. Who wants to go first? All right, Megan. I think you raised your hand first. I'm going to unmute you.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Am I? Oh, okay. I first have to say I'm so not a runner, but I'm getting into this. I've actually it's been really fun. I have two teenagers, and this has actually been something that we've done together. So it's been pretty amazing. I start out with them, and then they drop me, and they go on their big run. But just having they're like little motivators. So I've had a couple points. I'm following the beginner program. During the middle of it, that I've like, oh, I find anyway, my body gets tired before my breath gets tired. But it's been it's I think they really helped me get through that little, just that, that one moment where you're like, oh, I just want to stop for a minute. But so it's been really good.
That's good. Glad to hear
Yeah.
that. All right, who's next? I'm gonna start picking on people. You better raise your hand. Okay, Amanda.
Of course. I found it really enjoyable. Again, I'm following the beginner because I'm definitely not a runner either, and I'm also mildly asthmatic, but I found that with like the intervals of like run walk, it was like definitely doable. I never felt like I was like getting too out of breath or anything. And in general, I've been finding that on the days that I do run, I feel like my breathing is actually easier throughout the day afterwards. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's good. That's really great. How about one more person?
Hi, I'm Vidya. I'm sorry my camera isn't on.
No problem.
I did the run walk because I'm an absolute beginner and multiple time previous failure at trying this before. And I think the first day was really easy. It was nice. It was enjoyable. I did it with my dog, and even my run pace, my dog was just walking. So she was my really judgy teenager, Meg. And she wasn't impressed by my run pace at all. But for me, it was like, I'm just going to do it to get through it. And already I finished the first day, and already the second day was like 3 minutes. How am I going to do 3 minutes? So honestly, I did the 3-minute and 30-second run. Sometimes that 30-second became a longer, 30-second walk became a longer minute walk. But I finished it. I did it. I did 6 intervals. I did a lot more than a mile, and I felt really good. And it was great. I took pictures with my dog. I celebrated, told 10 people. And I went, in the evening, I was like, let's run, Maya. And like next day, I'm like, let's run, Maya. So I think it's, yeah, and yesterday I did my 1.5 mile run with that. I took a lot of breaks, whatever. But it's been, I think it's been nice to be able to do it. It feels like a little bit of a victory. It's only week 1, but I've also been chatting with Meg and Michelle about it, and it's nice to hear from each other that everyone's struggling or everyone's moving from dislike to like. So that's helpful. I'm just hoping the momentum stays up. I went again this morning, and my dog was like, this is not a run, but whatever, at least I'm out there.
That's awesome. That's really good. And yeah, it does take a little bit of time to get into the momentum. And then even like my core strengthening exercises that I was doing for the last couple of weeks really didn't feel anything until just today, right? It takes time to keep at it. And then eventually over time, you start to recognize, wow, it just got a little bit easier, or now I'm able to run a little bit further than I had in the past. But stay with it. And I'm glad that you're doing it with your dog. That's fantastic. And that's a good motivator as well. So thank you for sharing that. All right. So on our agenda, I wanted to talk about shoes. And I think I got some questions around shoes, and, hopefully everybody's got a decent pair of running shoes that they are wearing. And I want to talk a little bit about my experience on how I went about my shoe picking process. So when I first started, I didn't have a coach at that time. I didn't really have a lot of friends that were runners. I just kind of said, okay, well, I'm going to go run in some shoes. I just went out to the store and I said, these ones look nice. And I said, that's what I'm going to wear. So I ended up in some Brooks. I've worn Nikes. I've worn Asics. I've run in Hokas and Ultras. So I pretty much tried everything out. And I really wish I would have done something differently. And so this is what I'm going to share with you guys. I ended up going to a store called Roadrunner Sports, and they did this treadmill test on me. So they videotaped me from multiple angles, and they recorded my running, how I ran, my running form, right? And so they ended up doing some 3D modeling, and they ended up saying, okay, well, based on how your foot hits the ground, they call it, you could either pronate, which is where your foot is kind of turning out, or you can supinate, which is turning in, or you can be neutral and your foot actually just kind of naturally hits the ground even and aligned. And so most of us are going to be one or the other, and we're probably not in the middle on the neutral side. So once they did this analysis on me, they said, okay, well, based on your running form and your running style, you probably need to have shoes that support you in a certain way. And so they gave me like 3 recommendations on like what shoes I might want to try. So just having that knowledge of what type of runner or what your running form is a huge, huge help in determining what kind of shoes are going to best support you. Okay. And so one thing you could do is you could even take your own phone and record yourself running on, you could do it on a treadmill, or you could do it on the side of a road even. And if you have a little way of propping up your phone, you can record yourself in slow motion. And as soon as you see it in slow motion, you'll immediately know, oh, my foot is rotating a little bit, or I'm heel striking, or I'm hitting, with my foot turning in a little bit. And if you want, I'll even take a look at your slow-mo videos if you really want to send it over to me, and I can pretty quickly identify, how and where your foot is hitting the ground. Okay. So any questions around shoes? All right, moving to the next thing. So this is actually something that I feel super strongly about. And I think this might even be as important or more important than the shoes themselves. And this is something I learned probably only maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it's something that I feel like if people understood how their foot rotates or whether or not it's aligned, they would actually recognize that a lot of what's happening when they run is putting a lot of pressure, unnecessary pressure, all the way up your entire leg. So it can go from your foot, your ankle, into your calf muscles. It can create shin splints, go all the way up into your knee. It can create knee joint kind of issues in there. It can affect your patella tendon, which is right below your kneecap, or it can impact your quads and hamstrings, and then even impact your hip, okay? And then all the way up to your lower back. So this is what we call like a kinetic chain of muscles that are interacting all the way through your entire body. And the thing that I think it's important to focus in on is like you start with the foundation. You start where the bottom of your foot is. So I'm going to show you, this here is what comes inside a normal running shoe, right? I took it out of my shoes. And this little thing right here, it's soft, but it provides absolutely no support at all for your foot, okay? So look at that. It just bends like crazy and really doesn't do anything. Doesn't really hold your heel in place, and certainly doesn't provide any arch support. And, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty much worthless in my eyes. So when I went to Roadrunner Sports, they did that 3D modeling, and they they sold me a pair of these. So this is an insole, okay? It would cost like $80 to buy this thing. And certainly it was very helpful at that time when I was using it. But it's way more sturdy, right? This thing, there's like I don't know what it is inside here, but it is definitely firm and retains its shape, and it definitely has a little bit of arch support right in here, okay? What I'm using today is this, okay? And this thing is awesome because you buy these things and they're things that you can heat mold to your feet inside your house. Like I preset my oven to 200 degrees, throw these things in there for 2 minutes, and then I take them out, and then I put them inside my shoe, and then I stand inside them for like a couple minutes. And then it molds to the actual shape of my foot, okay? And so like this thing right here, it has definitely a solid area here to hold the arch and provide arch support right there, okay? And this is really super important. So if your foot is breaking down and laying flat every single time you hit the ground, it is creating a strain all the way up your leg. Okay. So a lot of times when you have knee pains, it's coming from your foot. It's because your foot is so flat. And so when your running form starts to break down and you're doing a run and you start getting tired and your running form starts to get really sloppy. Okay. It happens to every one of us. It doesn't matter, whether you've just started running or you're in mile 23 of a marathon, your form eventually gets tired. When it gets tired, it breaks down, okay? So having something solid and firm that actually can hold and support your foot in a really great way can help alleviate a lot of those pains. And those pains actually become chronic pain, right? You start to recognize, oh, every single time I run more than 3 miles or 2 miles, I start developing this pain. Or the next day it hurts, and I hurt in different places, or I hurt in the same place all the time, right? It's always that right knee, and it's, maybe it could be above the knee, it could be below the knee, it could be for a lot of different reasons. But I don't want to get into like every single type of pain, but I think if you guys start with the foundation and you start with something like this, you will find that this is going to be one of the best things you could possibly put inside your shoe. And I would say even do this for your walking shoes, okay? Because when you're walking, you may walk a ton, many, many miles, right? And you notice that your feet start to fatigue and they start to get really sore and your legs get really sore. Well, you're putting a tremendous amount of pressure on your feet. And so eventually, that is going to develop into pain as well. So if you put something like that in your walking shoes, you put this thing inside your running shoes. I put them in like everything. Well, I started to like move my insoles around. I just like take them out of my shoes and then move them from one shoe to the next shoe to my trail running shoes to hiking, whatever, right? It's like I wanted my foot to feel exactly the same in every single shoe. And so no matter what type of shoe I was wearing, they all felt the same, okay? So I'm not here to sell you stuff, but I have discounts on Sole, okay? And if you want, I can send you the link to purchase this thing, and you can save yourself $15. So like the Roadrunner stuff was like $80. This thing here is regularly $49. And then I've got the $15 coupon thing that I can send to you, and you can get it for like $34. Okay. I don't know. Questions around this thing?
Okay, so given that we're in like the whole pandemic time and going out to the store is like not good, how the heck do you know the size of the insole to get for your shoes and like how to like fit it all? Like, I mean, because you're not, and how do you know how to actually pick your running shoes if you don't have the opportunity to try on a bunch of different shoes?
Great question. So let's start with the shoes. So right now, everybody has a pair of shoes, right? So stay with whatever you got, right? I don't think you're gonna be able to go buy shoes, or you could buy them and then return them. I know that the return policies on shoes right now are just as they always are, right? So you can buy a couple pairs of shoes and you can try them on and see how they feel. But if you were to order something like this, it comes through the mail, right? They're fitted to be exactly the same size as your shoe size. So you would just pick the same size. And these are also something that you could trim them a little bit if you need to with a pair of scissors. But I found that I haven't needed to do that. And so like the shoes that I wear these Ultra shoes, okay? And these are wide toe box shoes, okay? So I found that my foot feels better in a shoe where my toes can spread out a little bit. And most running shoes, or at least a lot of running shoes, are more narrow and they cramp my feet up, okay? So I ended up with this wider shoe, and when you buy these kinds of things, they actually have different sizes, and they'll say like, this is for a wide shoe, okay? And when I send out the link, I can show you 2 different styles, and I'll show you which 2 I bought, and then you guys can, there's probably like a dozen different styles and things in there. I'm just going to give you the 2 that I use, and you guys can read up on why those other styles actually exist. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you.
All right. Other questions on pain or, buying insoles or shoes? All right.
Hey, Peter, Vidya here again. Sorry, I just had a question. You've kind of addressed this. And knowing my previous track record, or in general, like what kind of a runner I'll be, I don't know if I want to invest in like a great pair of shoes right away. But at what point do you recommend? I mean, it's great to have whatever shoes we have now, but at what point do you recommend, either in our progress or how far we're going, or something that we actually change to something that's more dedicated, or an actual good pair of shoes?
All right. So the shoes are your equipment. They're the most important thing that you're going to be using for running. So the thing that I've noticed is that I buy my shoes and then I would wear them until they are just like burning holes through the sole. Okay. And that is actually probably the wrong way to approach shoes. So, because what's happening is that there's foam inside your shoe. Okay. And this foam is breaking down every single time you're running. So on a rule of thumb, they say somewhere around 300 plus miles is where you would actually rotate out your shoes. Okay. And I found that the upper part of my shoe will look brand new. And I will have put in like 300 miles on these soles. And I'm like, wow, these look absolutely like there should be nothing wrong with them. But I found that, if as soon as you start to develop some pain, that means your shoe is absolutely done. Okay, you shouldn't be feeling pain from running, other than the normal, regular soreness in a muscle. Okay, but if you have other types of pain that are not muscle related, like if you stop running for a couple days, your muscles, they're gonna be feeling pretty good again, right? All that lactic acid inside the legs, it's gone. But if you have persistent pain, or you develop new pain that you haven't had before, that's absolutely the time to get new shoes.
Thank you.
Yep.
I
All
have
right.
a question about like tying your shoes.
What's the question?
I have a question about tying your shoes.
Great.
I've been sort of like experimenting with like tying them like really tight, or like tying them a little bit looser. And in both cases, by the end of the run, my feet are hurting, and maybe it's like I need to get some insole or something. But I was wondering if there's kind of a standard for how to tie them.
That's a good question. So too loose is definitely not locking your foot down into the shoe. Okay. So I would definitely stay away from having it be too loose. Too tight in your foot it's restricting the blood flow inside your foot, right? So I don't know. I would say definitely not over tight on the shoelacing side.
I think I like tend to loosen the like front part near my toes more, and then tighten near my ankles. Is that okay, or should I be trying to keep it like uniform from like toe to ankle?
Why do you loosen it up on the toe?
I guess I just like want more room around my toes. Like it feels tight around like the widest part behind your toes.
Yeah. You might need to do something like the wide toe box shoe style. Give your feet a little bit more space to breathe in. And then when you lace up, you're still locked down in a really good way, and it's supporting your foot all the way through.
Okay, cool.
You might want to try those type of shoes.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So we got like 2 more minutes here. Any other questions? All right. Great. Well, I will send that stuff out to you guys. And a total disclaimer, it's like I'm, I'm telling you about this product here, and you get a great discount, 15 bucks off. It's $34. I would think you can go buy anything you want. Okay. There's stuff out there. You can do your Google search on insoles. There's probably a dozen different companies out there that are making this kind of stuff. But I think this one here, I found it to be really well made. I think it's also, you know, one of those sustainable companies as well that I tend to align really well with. So, all right.
Hey Peter, quick question. Sorry, before. Can you hear me? It's
Yeah, I
Steph.
can hear you.
Hey Peter, I was just wondering if you send us that link and say my roommate who's also a runner wants to order that, is that okay to take advantage
Yes,
of that link?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So you guys have your week 2 stuff in front of you. For those of you on the run walk side, you get to bump it up by a half mile today, actually every day this week. And then the novice people, you guys are running a quarter mile further. So hopefully, you know, that's going to continue to help improve the endurance that you guys are building up to right now. Any questions around that? All right. So hopefully you guys are doing the right things and hydrating before you run, hydrating and refueling after you run, and doing some of those exercises and stretches beforehand. And then I'll send out a link as well to a post-run yoga workout that I do. It just helps, you know, helps me recover a lot faster from running. All right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up and continuing to run and put in this energy and effort.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.